Have you ever said to yourself, I'm just not good enough, or I'm too old or too young to be successful, or I just don't have what it takes? This negative self-talk convinces us that these beliefs are true. Now, whether these beliefs are conscious or unconscious, these beliefs impact your ability to pursue your dream. They suck the joy out of life and make life difficult. So today we are going to take a deep dive to understand what beliefs might be running us consciously or unconsciously and figure out how to break through those beliefs so that we have more energy than ever before. To teach us how to do that, we are speaking to an extraordinary woman, Marie Forleo. Let me tell you a little bit about Marie. Marie is an entrepreneur, writer, philanthropist, and unshakable optimist. She is dedicated to helping people become the person that they are meant to be. She has an award-winning show. I'm a big fan. It's called Marie TV. And she is also a #1 New York Times bestselling author of Everything is Figure Outable. Her audience spans over 195 countries. And you may have seen her on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday or The Today Show. Well, today she is here with us. I'm so grateful. Welcome, Marie.
Hi, Jess. Oh my goodness. It's so great to be back with you. Yay!
It is, and this is such a juicy topic. I want to start off because I was saying in the intro, sometimes we know we have these beliefs, sometimes we don't, but let's just start from the really basic. What are we talking about when we say beliefs? What is a belief and what impact does it have on us?
So, our beliefs, whether we're conscious of it or not, they're kind of like the train tracks that run underneath our lives that are directing where we go, how we go, and the ultimate destination that we wind up at. So, a belief is nothing more than a thought that we believe with total and absolute certainty is the truth with a capital T. It is an idea, a notion, something that we believe in our bones is absolutely so. Whether or not it's factually true or not, if we believe it, it is a belief. And so our beliefs can come from so many different sources, right? Most of us, as little babies, we come into this world and we're fresh and we're open, but like sponges, we soak up the ideas, the stories, the understandings, and yes, the beliefs of people around us. So it can be our caregivers, it can be things that we are learning in school, stuff that we pick up from our friends, things that we witness in our environment, and even things that we experience ourselves. So there are so many different sources of how we start to make sense of the world, what we believe to be true about our own worth, what we're capable of doing or experiencing or having or being, what the world means in terms of what is money, what is love, of what are relationships, what's possible when it comes to my body or my creativity. And so there's so many different layers to our beliefs. And most of us don't start to really take a look or stop and pause and say, where did all of these ideas or beliefs in my mind come from? I had actually just sent out a little survey to my audience recently, Jess, because I'm working on a new project around money. And I think that's probably one of the most hot topic kind of areas in our whole lives. And one of the questions that I asked was, hey, look, none of us are born into this world with notions of money, but we're usually encoded with some pretty strong beliefs at an early age. What did you hear growing up from your caregivers or from society, or what do you believe right now based on just being a human being in the world for as many years as you've been on the planet? And Jess, it was so awesome because people were so incredibly transparent about their beliefs. Oh, my dad taught me money is really hard to come by and there's not a lot of it, but if you work really hard, maybe you'll get some. But then my mom taught me, just have faith. The angels will take care of you, and so all of us have these different beliefs about different topics of our lives. And most of the time they're running subconsciously, unconsciously in the background, and we don't even know we're there. So I think what's so cool is that what you do with tapping and what we're all kind of looking at in terms of wanting to make our lives richer and more expansive and to be healthier and happier and more effective in our relationships. Step #1 is really to start to understand, well, what do I believe about what it's going to take to make that happen? And is it even possible? So this is where I think it gets exciting, that awareness level.
You made such an interesting point, which is a lot of times we're not saying, I have this belief. We're just saying, I am not good enough, or I am too old. We don't even know it's a belief. So just the beginning of this conversation and saying, can we begin to question these thoughts? Can we stop and realize that we don't have to believe everything that we think? Just this opportunity to pause seems like the biggest first step.
Oh, it absolutely is. And I think if there's any area of your life that seems to be challenging, that's causing you angst, frustration, anger, anxiety, or insecurity, if there's something not working, there's a very good chance that you may be assuming something is the truth with a capital T. But if you poke a little bit deeper and you start to peel back the layers of that onion, that's where you're going to find a belief. And you may find that it is limiting you. If you've ever kind of looked out into the world and you notice someone else who, let's say, is able to create much faster than you are, or, they're able to actually be in a healthy body, or they're able to create a certain amount of abundance, or any type of experience or outcome that you're like, gosh, how are they doing that? Here's the good news. It means it's possible. They probably have a different set of beliefs and behaviors that'll go there, but it's really good news if you find yourself frustrated or you find yourself feeling a little bit of impatience or anger or upset about something that you're not able to create, because that means you're about to stumble upon your awareness of a belief that is limiting you.
Yeah. The thing about beliefs too is that we love to prove ourselves right. So we just gather evidence. So if you believe you're not good enough, because that's the biggest hurdle, you say, well, is that really true? And someone goes, let me tell you, going to give you this list of all the reasons why I'm not gonna, or let me give you a list of why money makes you evil. And they will come up with every bad person who has ever had money, when someone with an opposite belief can do the exact same thing and create a different list. But
Yep.
we have this evidence.
Absolutely. It's a cognitive bias called confirmation bias. And we human beings are pretty much wired to want to continue to believe that which we already believe. And to your point, to find a mountain of evidence to support it. But I think when you're coming to any situation with an open mind and an open heart and a desire to change, when you start to reach into a level of emotional maturity to recognize that there are many truths out there and there are many different ways to view any topic, including yourself, and you're willing to be humble enough to say, is there something that I may not know, the knowing of which could change everything? And to have that level of humility and to be able to question your own assumptions and your own bucket of evidence that you've been carrying around your whole life and go, well, what else might be possible? Who might I be if I believed the complete opposite? Let me give you a tangible example from my own life. For a while, I was carrying around this belief, Jess, that if I were to get more successful, I've been doing what I've been doing in my career for about 20 years now, and I feel really grateful for everything that I've been able to create and accomplish. And I've worked my buns off for it, right? But I had this belief, if I go even further and become more successful, I'm going to destroy my relationship. So I have been with my partner, Josh, for almost 20 years. And I don't even think I recognized, Jess, that that was a limiting belief running in the background. I would just kind of hold myself back, or there would be opportunities I'd be like, no, because deep underneath the surface, there was this limiting belief that if I get too successful, I will destroy the love that I have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I stumbled upon that, and I think I was journaling, and I really got down to the truth of like, whoa, I didn't even know that thing was there, but it was there. And it got me really emotional. And I did something that I have found to be really instructive over the years in terms of what we're talking about. Like when you have this mountain of evidence, that you're carrying around, is like, no, this is it. If you get too successful, you're going to lose love and it's going to, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, what if the opposite was true? What if the more successful I get, actually the stronger my relationship gets? Is it possible that that's true? And Jessica, when I did that, it was like something in my heart opened up and I started to write down all of the reasons on the flip side of that coin. Like, how could that be true? Is it possible? Oh my gosh. Well, if I actually look at how Josh and I were together at the beginning of our relationship almost 19 years ago versus how we are together now, the more successful I've become, the closer we've become. I've become a better partner. We've had more opportunity to dig into things. And so I started to create this whole other evidence list for the exact opposite of my limiting belief. And it changed everything.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like the first step is to have that open heart, because it takes some vulnerability to say, I'm going to question this thing that
Yes.
I am also comfortable with. Sometimes it causes us pain, but it's just comfortable. We're just so used to
Familiar.
it's familiar.
Yes, that's great. Well, and you have to understand the biology of change a little. As human beings, we like certainty. We like things that are familiar. We like the known because the known feels safe. And so, even if something creates a level of discomfort in our lives, we feel frustrated, we feel angry, we feel insecure, we feel limited, we feel held back, that familiarity of it creates a certain level of neurochemicals in our brain and our body. And you do that day in and day out by believing the same thing over and over again. And pretty soon you've conditioned your body into a state where you're like, oh, I know what this feels like. I know what this feels like. This is me. This is my life. But to your point, to be vulnerable enough to question that and to say what else might be possible, all of a sudden you're pushing yourself into the unknown. And for most humans, the unknown is a very scary place to be. We're untethered. It doesn't feel familiar. We're not firing off the same neurochemicals in our brain or our body that we are habituated to. So, of course, we're like, wait a minute. I don't know what's happening here, and we'll talk about tapping hopefully in a little bit, but that is normal. So I think when you start to question your beliefs and you have the courage to inspect them, to challenge those assumptions, to really look at them from every angle, like who taught me this? Where did I pick this up? And what would be possible for me if I let go of this limiting belief? And to feel that surge of emotions that pop up and to let yourself hang out there and just witness it, that is the space where we start to create an ability for us to have real transformation from the inside out.
Absolutely. I'd love to do some tapping now if I can lead you and the listeners through some tapping to bring us to that state of opening our heart, of questioning, of acknowledging that it's not easy when we start. It is uncomfortable. And so often we shy away from that uncomfortable feeling instead of allowing ourselves to simply be with it and see where it leads us, like
Yeah.
you shared. So let's address that uncomfortable feeling. So for those who are watching, just take a moment and check in with how you feel from this conversation. Is there a part of you that's like, yeah, whatever, Marie and Jess, like easy for you guys to say? Is there some part of you that's just uncomfortable with this, or you're scared to look? Or maybe you just don't have the clarity yet, but you want to have more of an open heart. Notice where you are. Notice any resistance you might have to this conversation. Give it a number from 0 to 10. If it's not clear resistance, maybe it's just a sensation in your stomach or your chest feels tight. Notice that. And then we're going to do some tapping together. So, Marie, if you would tap along with me and repeat after me, tap on the side of the hand and say, even though looking at my beliefs
Even though looking at my beliefs
feels really uncomfortable,
feels really uncomfortable,
I accept how I feel,
I accept how I feel,
and I give my body permission to relax.
and I give my body permission to relax.
Even though part of me feels this fear,
Even though part of me feels this fear,
and I don't know what's on the other side of this,
and I don't know what's on the other side of this,
I'm open to having faith
I'm open to having faith
that the answers will come.
that the answers will come.
Even though I feel this tightness in my body,
Even though I feel this tightness in my body,
I honor where I am,
I honor where I am,
and I'm open to more ease.
and I'm open to more ease.
Now we're going to tap and we're just going to give a voice to these feelings. So on the eyebrow point, just say, these uncomfortable feelings.
These uncomfortable feelings.
Side of the eye, part of me doesn't want to look at these beliefs.
Part of me doesn't want to look at these beliefs
Under the eye, because they could be painful.
because they could be painful.
Under the nose, and I'm so used to them.
And I'm so used to them.
Under the mouth, sometimes I don't even think they're beliefs.
Sometimes I don't even think they're beliefs.
Collarbone, I just think that I'm not good enough.
I just think that I'm not good enough.
Under the arm, I'm becoming aware of this negative self-talk.
I'm becoming aware of this negative self-talk.
Top of the head, and I'm giving it a conscious voice.
And I'm giving it a conscious voice
Eyebrow, so that I can take a closer look.
so that I can take a closer look.
Side of the eye, it's safe to question my beliefs.
It's safe to question my beliefs.
Under the eye, it's safe to be wrong about myself.
It's safe to be wrong about myself.
Under the nose, maybe this can be easier than I thought.
Maybe this could be easier than I thought.
Under the mouth, I give myself permission to explore.
I give myself permission to explore.
Collarbone, I give myself permission to look closer.
I give myself permission to look closer.
Under the arm, and I do it from a place of compassion.
And I do it from a place of compassion.
Top of the head, I release self-criticism.
I release self-criticism.
And I am open to curiosity.
And I am open to curiosity.
All right, take a nice deep breath in. And exhale. Just notice how your body feels. Notice any thoughts that came to mind while you were tapping. And the point of that is just to be more open to this conversation with more ease, to replace that self-criticism with simply some curiosity. And that's the thing, Marie. Sometimes when we start looking at these beliefs, we can get really mean at. We're like, oh, well, now it's a belief. So I've been lying to myself this whole time. So, and then we have this other story of like, I can't believe I've done this for so long, or I can't believe I've run this pattern. And it's like the self-awareness, we go back to the blame and shame game instead of being like, oh, isn't this exciting that I've discovered?
That's right. And I think something else important to note, and most people know this, but I can never be reminded of it enough, is that what we know from neuroplasticity about our brains and our ability to use our minds to not only change the physical structure of our brains, but to also change our beliefs, therefore our thoughts, our feelings, our behavior, and our results. So repetition is a key principle of neuroplasticity. So the first stage in the game, as we were talking about, is simply awareness. And I love what you shared, Jess. It's like we can either look and be creative, curious scientists, or we can come in like bulldozer and be, I'm bad. I can't believe I wasted all these years thinking that. But that gets us nowhere. You know, there's that idea, what you resist persists and grows stronger. So anything you're pushing against, anything you're judging yourself for, anything you're hard on yourself for, like it or not, you will tend to keep that in place. But when you come at it from a place of curiosity, a little bit of playfulness, even just neutral awareness, that neutrality, that observer effect, that just looking with kindness and compassion upon yourself, that has a way of neutralizing the hold, the lock that it has both from a neurochemical standpoint, from a structural standpoint, and you have so much more space and energy then to choose and create a new idea, a new possibility, a new belief that you feel would serve you even more. And the fact that we are able to consciously change our minds, change our brains, change how we behave and what we believe, it's not science fiction, it's science fact. Every single person watching this right now has this as a capability. Now, it doesn't happen in an instant, right? Nothing ever does. But repetition is simply just showing up for yourself and having that willingness to bring awareness to your thoughts, to what you're saying to you about you. And then if you notice something that doesn't quite feel right, or it feels like a thought that you've outgrown, or you notice you're just repeating a habitual thought that you learned in the past from your family or your upbringing or society itself, you can say, oh, wow, that's interesting. Actually, this is the direction I'm heading in now. So it takes that slowing down, that neutral awareness, that observer effect, And you're gonna find the negative beliefs and the limiting beliefs popping up. I do all the time. So that's not a problem. The problem is if you beat yourself up or you don't even question them, but noticing them, that means you're winning the game. And then continuing to make new choices and continuing to build those little evidence buckets up of what else might be possible for you. That's when I think things get really, really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. And what an invitation for even the next week to really be conscious of the self talk, of the stories that we tell ourselves. When you shared your story, I thought about mine around money. A few years ago, we bought this beautiful house, my husband and I found myself constantly like apologizing for it or being like, we got a really good deal. Someone would like see the house and I'd be like, we got a great deal on this house because it has a swimming pool, okay? And I started to look and I started realizing, like, why am I being uncomfortable about this great house that I bought? And I realized that as a kid, I didn't have a big house and I didn't have a swimming pool, but I had friends that did. And I always had the separation. And I would do this thing where I would say, well, I'm kind of better than them because I have to work hard I have to buy my own clothes. And so that belief served me as a kid because it made me proud. I'd be like, yeah, I have a job as a teenager and and I make this money and I buy my clothes. But then as an adult, a belief that helped me in that moment became limiting when I kept the belief that in order to be worthy and a hard worker and a good person, you had to have less money, and that by having a house that has a swimming pool, suddenly you're going to be, lazy and ungrateful and, or being scared that the same judgments I had for other people, because I was judging those people with the pools, now other people were going to judge me for having the pool. So it's those moments where I never thought about this and my whole thing about having a swimming pool until it happened. And then you're like, why am I repeating this story and apologizing? And how do I sit with this and figure out where this is coming from? And so, yeah, I had to like look at the beliefs of saying I can still be a good person and I can make more and I can do more instead of limiting myself for fear of other people's judgments.
Yeah. And this is where I think it does get really exciting because when you start to look at these things, and it's not like you need to go around with a magnifying glass or anyone watching you go like, oh, I need to find all my living beliefs. You don't. In the course of your life unfolding, when you bump up into an area of frustration or you just sense you're like, this feels a little repetitive. There's some before, right? And you're like, you keep bumping up against something. You're like, why does this keep happening? It's usually because there's a lesson to be learned. And part of the lesson is that you're still hanging on to some type of limited, smaller container from your past that very well may have served you at one point in time, but is too confining for the being and the soul that you are becoming right now. And that's when it gets really fun. That's when you can use tapping to say, oh, well, let me inspect this. Let's go take a look around. Let's see what I might be believing and how it may be making my journey at this stage and season of my life harder than it needs to be. And again, that tip to take any limiting belief and literally flip it around to its inverse. I have found that just so many times to be the truth. Like anything that I believe, like for example, the more successful I get, it's just going to destroy my relationship. It's like, oh, well, what if the more successful I get, my relationship actually gets stronger and better and more passionate? What if that's true? I'm like, oh, I'm going after that one because that sounds like so much more fun. And I can build evidence for anything I want. And to a certain degree, it almost doesn't matter what's true because we can look at that idea of truth from so many different angles, right? Depending on what perspective you're standing at, you can see different things and they all might be valid. So you have to ask yourself, well, what is going to serve my highest and best good based on this particular stage and season of my life? What belief is really going to help me show up as my best, to be my most loving, to show up in a way that feels like it's the highest expression of who I can be, and to take care of those around me? So I think when you start playing on that level, you start worrying less about science because that always changes. Scientists tell us something is true, and then a few years later, it's like, oh, but wait, we found out, and that's a beautiful thing. That's the natural evolution and progression of how we are evolving. So it's less about what is quote unquote true and more about what is going to serve you at the highest level and what's going to allow you to step into the highest expression of who you're meant to be.
It reminds me of So I have a 3-year-old, Enzo, and he has been having these nightmares, or he wakes up at 2 o'clock, he hears a noise and he'll cry out for me. And so I had a week that I was like going into his room a lot. And then just last night I bought him a new sleep sack. And as I was zipping up the sleep sack, I was like, Enzo, this sleep sack is filled with my love, and it's going to protect you and keep you safe. And it's going to make no bad dreams are going to come. And if you hear any noise, just remember that you're safe and cozy in the sleep sack. He slept through the whole night, didn't wake up. I get him in the morning and he's like, it worked. It worked. The sleep sack worked. And someone might think, oh, well, you're just like making something up. But I'm like, no, it is a belief. And it is my belief that I made the intention that this sleep sack is going to make him sleep better. It's filled with love. He believes it. And it did just that. It created his reality, which is feeling safe and having that as night's sleep.
That's exactly right. So when we start to play in that realm of understanding our power as divine creators and understanding, look, any of the ideas, the truths, the things that we absorbed from our environment, from our upbringing, from society, from the media, it's not necessarily that anyone did anything wrong or bad or malicious. Everyone's just doing the best we can. But it's our responsibility to inspect those things, to challenge those ideas and say, do they fit for the person who I am now and who I am becoming and the results that I would like to experience or achieve in my life, in this incredible adventure that we're all on right now? And I love that story of you and Enzo because it's true. You had the intention of filling that sleeping bag with love, and he wanted more than anything, right? To have a great night's sleep. Outcome achieved. It's like, it's a beautiful, fun way to play with beliefs. And I think that we can do that in all areas of our life by starting to ask the question, well, what if I believed the opposite of what this limiting belief is? What wouldn't it be cool if is a sentence stem that I often like to use. We use this in our business a lot. Like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we didn't have to deal with X, Y, and Z tech challenge? And you start to think in that way, we're like, oh, wait a minute. There's another solution over there that actually could be that thing. And that's another way into the game using the sentence stem. Wouldn't it be cool if, to kind of imagine into, if you're not sure what your limiting beliefs are, if you finish that sentence stem and you come up with a possibility that gets you really excited, there's a chance that underneath it, there is a subconscious limiting belief that you wouldn't have given yourself permission to explore until you played with that sentence stem.
So sometimes in life, like you said, we bump into things and we look closely and we begin to realize, oh, I have this limiting belief. Other times we're bumping into things and we're like, I still don't know what my limiting belief is, or I still don't know what is going on. You have some great questions that I'd love to share and we can talk about that can help us all gain clarity and give us an opportunity to journal or just to ask ourselves and just take a shower, just give ourselves space to reflect on these questions. So let me read a few. What is something you're still doubting that you can create, manifest, and bring into your life? So for those who are watching, what is something that you're still doubting? Like, I just don't think it's possible. Why do you think that you can't have this? That's going to be your beliefs, right? Why do you think that you can't have this? How does it make you feel to not have what you want? We're going to put more in the workbook, but I'm going to read just one last one. How would it feel if what you wanted was possible? How would it feel? So these questions give us this opportunity to get clear on what's coming up. And a lot of times people ask me, all right, I have this belief, but how do I tap on it? How do I know what to say? And it's often we have to start with what we write down when we journal, right? So we say why it's not possible. We write everything down. When we read those words, there is a physical reaction. It feels true. You feel it in your body. It's in your stomach. It's in your chest. It's a reaction. When we can look at that and tap and then feel calm and then suddenly read, we're feeling calm, we're feeling at peace. And now we read, I'm not good enough. There's a part of you that's like, that doesn't have a place to land because my body feels centered and calm, right? You listen to your body more than anything. And so when your body feels good, those limiting beliefs are like, and I know you love movement, and I feel like movement and tapping, getting into your body is so powerful. Can you tell me a little bit about that concept for you, the getting into your body, what that means for you?
Oh, 100%. I think that in today's society, so many of us spend so much time sedentary, right? I mean, you and I were sitting at the computer right now. I'm sure people listening or watching at this moment, there's a chance they're in front of a screen, right? And so they're absorbing this there. And just the nature of how our work lives have become, most of us aren't necessarily spending 5, 6 hours a day moving our bodies, working around. And so energy gets stagnant in here. And oftentimes, emotions and beliefs can often live in our bodies. And for me, anytime, Jessica, that I run into an area of my life where I can't seem to figure something out, or I feel like I'm just in the midst of a block, things all seem really cloudy, I'm stuck, I'm not able to kind of see which way I can move forward. The best thing that I have found for me that works is to move, is to sweat, is to literally get that energy moving inside of me, to change my brain chemistry intentionally. And so that might look like for me at these days jumping on my Peloton bike just because it's there and I'm able to get on it and I'm able to, in 15 or 20 minutes, be dripping in sweat, completely change my physiology and have a total opening in terms of insights and creative solutions. And even just my mood is completely shifted. And so I think when it comes to starting to poke around into what we believe is possible for us and what isn't, if you find yourself emotionally either getting down or feeling stuck, whether it's going outside for a walk in nature, jumping on a bike, doing a dance class, turning on YouTube and doing a 15-minute yoga class, anything you can do to get this incredible vessel moving, 9 times out of 10, you will find a breakthrough. You can't force it and you can't just be like, it's going to happen. But if you actually release and let go and drop out of this thing and get into this thing, your body, it has so much intelligence and wisdom that we just don't tap into because we spend so much of our time from the neck up. Not to mention, right? Most of us spend a lot of time on these things, cell phones, any type of tablet, any type of electronics. And all that does is reinforce your analytical mind. It reinforces the known mind. It reinforces you staying in the prefrontal cortex, which is that executive control center of your mind, which is about reason and logic and, all of these different areas where you're trying to keep things in control. And sometimes our best answers and our breakthroughs aren't going to come from what we already know, but it's going to come from a higher source. It's going to come from a channel within our heart, our connection to a higher loving intelligence that, quite frankly, ain't going to come from this thing. And so moving our bodies is just a really beautiful, simple, organic, natural, healthy way to get out of our own way so that a bigger intelligence can speak through us.
I love it. I've had that experience myself. I think we need to start looking at movement differently instead of looking at movement as to lose weight or to have a goal, but to realize that we need to spend more time in our bodies. And so what can help us is moving, what can help us is tapping. It's like the body has this wisdom that so many of us are not connecting with. And so with that, I would love to do some tapping to get us back in our body. We did a little bit of it before, but let's really kind of connect to our truth, right? To try to get out of the noise of all the evidence of why we're not good enough and just get back to our body. How's that sound?
I love it.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so everyone just take a nice deep breath in and exhale. We've been talking about a lot, limiting beliefs, all the different ones that can come. We're thinking a lot, thinking about the challenges that we're facing, thinking about how can I make a change. We're going to shift things. Instead of thinking so much, we're going to start feeling. We're going to get back in our body to who we really are. So with that, just notice any tension that you might be holding on to, and you could give that a number from 0 to 10, any tightness in your body. And we're simply going to start by tapping on the side of the hand. Even though I've been living in my head,
Even though I've been living in my head
and I've been doing a lot of overthinking,
and I've been doing a lot of overthinking,
I give myself permission to pause
I give myself permission to pause
and to go within.
and to go within.
Even though I've been overthinking
Even though I've been overthinking
and trying to push myself towards an answer,
and trying to push myself towards an answer,
I'm open to letting go
I am open to letting go
and having faith.
and having faith.
Even though I've been looking at all of these beliefs
Even though I've been looking at all of these beliefs
and it can feel really stressful,
and it can feel really stressful,
I'm open to finding more ease.
I'm open to finding more ease.
Okay, tapping on the eyebrow point. All of these limiting beliefs,
All of these limiting beliefs,
side of the eye, some of them I'm conscious of.
some of them I'm conscious of,
Under the eye, some of them I'm not.
some of them I'm not,
Under the nose, and I can get really in my head.
and I can get really in my head.
Under the mouth, I have this belief I have to fix myself.
I have this belief I need to fix myself.
Collarbone, I have this belief that something's wrong with me.
I have this belief that something's wrong with me.
Under the arm, and maybe all of this self-help
And maybe all of this self-help
is leading me towards self-acceptance.
is leading me towards self-acceptance.
Top of the head, I'm tired of fighting against myself.
I'm tired of fighting against myself.
Eyebrow, I'm tired of fighting these limiting beliefs.
I'm tired of fighting these limiting beliefs.
Side of the eye, I'm simply tired.
I'm simply tired.
Under the eye, and I'm open to making this easier.
And I'm open to making this easier.
Under the nose, I'm open to questioning my beliefs.
I'm open to questioning my beliefs.
Under the mouth, in a way that feels fun.
In a way that feels fun.
Collarbone, what if this could be easier than I realized?
What if this could be easier than I realize?
Under the arm, what if I already have empowering beliefs?
What if I already have empowering beliefs?
Top of the head, what if I am enough?
What if I am enough?
Eyebrow, I don't need to do or fix anything.
I don't need to do or fix anything.
Side of the eye, I simply let go of the parts of me that aren't real.
I simply let go of the parts of me that aren't real.
Under the eye, because I do know what is real.
Because I do know what is real.
Under the nose, I am enough.
I am enough.
Under the mouth, I am lovable.
I am lovable.
Collarbone, I have a big heart.
I have a big heart.
Under the arm, I have good intentions.
I have good intentions.
Top of the head, and all that is enough.
And all of that is enough.
Eyebrow, all of that will lead me.
All of that will lead me
Side of the eye, towards a greater path.
towards a greater path.
Under the eye, there are invisible forces.
There are invisible forces
Under the nose that are supporting my every step.
that are supporting my every step.
Under the mouth, there are invisible forces.
There are invisible forces
Collarbone that are cheering me on.
that are cheering me on.
Under the arm, I simply let go
I simply let go
and allow.
and allow.
Top of the head, allow myself to be who I truly am.
Allow myself to be who I truly am.
All right, take a nice deep breath in. And exhale. Just notice how that feels. Notice what it felt like to reflect on this idea of maybe there's nothing to fix, right? Maybe they're just beliefs. Maybe there's nothing broken. And maybe we can experience more ease. What came to mind, Marie, as you were tapping?
I loved it. I actually loved the idea too of just approaching this from a frame of playfulness and from a frame of lightness and from a frame of, oh, I don't need that anymore. Just like when you're in an environment where it might be too hot and you have a scarf on. You're like, oh, I could just take this off right now. And it doesn't have to be this heavy, hard thing that you can
Yeah.
come at it from a place of playfulness and lightheartedness and ease.
I love the concept of, I don't know if you've ever heard the word proanoia. It's the opposite of being paranoid. You're proanoid. So like paranoid means that you just think that everything is against you, and being proanoid, you think everything's to your favor. You think that there are invisible forces that are cheering you on, that there are things happening behind the scenes to make your dreams easier. And that's what I hold on to stubbornly. I'm stubborn about it. I'm like, I just believe that there are invisible forces supporting my dreams, even when I don't remember it. And coming from that spirit place, we get out of here, we get back in our body and back in our spirit. And that's what I love about your work, is that it's really tapping into that energy.
Yeah, and staying connected to our heart because this is the strongest part of ourselves, right? And having that courage to be able to say, "Oh my gosh," for me, it gets really fun when I stumble upon a belief that I'm like, I didn't even know that was there." And so it's not something to necessarily beat myself up about. It becomes this moment of elation, this moment of discovery, and like, whoa, look at how much more room I now have to live in. And I love that term pronoia. I love being absolutely convinced and believing that no matter what is happening in the circumstance, even if in the moment it doesn't appear to be for our favor, we know that it is. We know that there is some force working behind the scenes to ensure that we're on our highest and best path, and that things that weren't going to be for us or weren't going to be good for us over the long term will absolutely fall away and make room for bigger, better, more beautiful things that are more in alignment with our soul.
And we can find evidence for that. We can look back at, that old relationship that we wanted to work out so badly, and then it didn't work out. And we look back and we're like, thank goodness that fell apart. Or that job opportunity that fell apart, that we were devastated in the moment. And then we look back and we go, thank goodness that didn't work out. That's the evidence that we need, so that in the moment when something's not working out, we can go, I've been here before. I've been in situations where it hasn't worked out.
That's right.
And something comes.
That's right. Anytime that there is any kind of disappointment, where there's any type of rejection, I love the notion that life's rejection is God's protection, that you might not see everything happening in the moment, and it might have a little bit of a sting, or you might need to hang out, or have a good cry, or whatever's happening. But if you can hold on to that perspective that there is a greater intelligence at work, that it is a loving intelligence, it's a wise knowing that has your best interest at heart, I think there's a little bit more of a soft landing that we can go to when those inevitable stumbles and disappointments and rejections and frustrations happen in our lives, because they happen in all of our lives. So I love that, James.
Yeah. So there we have an empowering belief. Do you have any other empowering beliefs that you go to?
100%. So everything is figure outable, right? This is really the baseline belief that runs my entire life, so that no matter what is happening, I default back to everything is figure outable. I may not be able to figure it out in this moment. I may not be able to figure it out this week or this month. But if it is important enough to me to get in there and to rearrange reality or my ideas about reality, that I have the capability to do so. When it comes to creativity and money, there's always more where that came from. So that's another belief that I have. There's always more where that came from. So if a big unexpected bill, I often call those life tax, whether it's something breaks down, or you know what I mean? Something shows down, you're like, "Wasn't expecting that one." Or when it comes to creativity in our businesses, when there is a need for a new idea or an innovation or a novel way to solve a particular problem, I always drill back into this belief that there's always more where that came from, in terms of my ability to tap into an unlimited well of possibility when it comes to creative solutions, or when it comes to ideas to share with the world. Um, and so I think those are probably, in addition to everything is figure outable, are kind of three of my baselines that I will circle around depending on the circumstance. And those have served me really, really well.
I think it's important to note that experience these beliefs or we're thinking about these beliefs, when we're in that great calm state, like we just finished a workout or we just finished tapping and we're in our body, those feel true, right? They feel true. When those other beliefs, they just don't land when we're in that state. And I think it's important to know that if say the belief of I'm not good enough, if that was true, it should feel good because you'd be like, yeah, that's my truth. Like I am completely aligned with the fact that I'm worthless. Like totally feels great, right? But the fact that we're like, this feels awful is because a part of us is saying that's not true. That's not aligned to who we are. But having this belief of everything is figure outable, it's like, oh, that feels good. So that is
Yeah.
aligned with our truth.
Not only that, I mean, one of the miraculous things about everything is figure outable, using it as an active, not only belief, but as a mantra, is it actually calms down your amygdala. So that fear center in your brain that can get triggered anytime there is an oh shiitake kind of moment, right? Where you're like, whoa, did not expect that. Like, what's going on? If you say to yourself silently or out loud, everything is figure outable, everything is figure outable, you will experience this for yourself. You will notice a calming in your nervous system. If you take a few deep breaths, you will find yourself feeling more grounded. You will find that the amygdala stops being on high alert and that you can actually re-access the prefrontal cortex, which is that control and command center of your brain that gives you the ability to reason, to self-regulate, to make decisions that are sound. Because when we are in fight or flight, we don't have this. It goes offline. So for me, everything is figure outable is not just something that's inspiring. It's incredibly pragmatic because it helps me regulate my nervous system, which helps me keep access to the parts of my brain and my heart that I need most, especially when the circumstances are tricky. So to be able to stay tapped into not only that inner wisdom, but to my actual most developed intelligence center and to stay out of the fight, the flight, the fear, the scarcity, the nervousness, the anger, the rage, any of that stuff. Everything is figure outable. If you actually keep saying it and give yourself a little bit of a window of opportunity to believe it, you will 100% change your nervous system in minutes.
Absolutely. And within the workbook, there's actually a special everything is figure outable tapping sequence. So when you feel like it's not figure outable and you need to move through and get to that space of saying, yes, everything's figure outable, you can get that within the workbook as well as a few other tapping scripts on beliefs. Marie, this has been such an enlightening and fun conversation. As people go throughout their week after hearing us talk and they're beginning to reflect on their beliefs, what do you want them to remember? What are some final thoughts?
I think it's so important to remember that you are in charge of not only the quality of your life, but where you're going in your future. And this beautiful brain that you have, this beautiful heart that you have, it is yours to not only care for, but it's yours to help shape, to help bring you into the future that you desire. So anything that happens in your circumstance, there's always going to be different things that you can witness, that you'll have reactions to. That's normal. That's true for all of us. But just recognize that this is in your care, as is this. Both your head and your heart are within your possibility to shape and change. And so to be able to tap and to move and to get every tool that you possibly can to give yourself the best chance of staying well and happy and expansive into your future. That's what I would leave them with.
Marie, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. This was lovely as always. And I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.